Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Peters. Senator Young, you are recognized.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, for your interest in this topic, and I want to thank all of our panelists here today. Thank you for your thoughtful contribution as it relates to policymaking on this host of issues. You mentioned in your testimony, Mr. Jaffer, that China is increasingly engaged in undersea cable cutting activities. This is something that for a couple of years running I've had a real interest in, and as a matter of the Intelligence Committee, I'm trying to find countermeasures that might help us address this, this growing challenge. Subsea cables, we know, serve as the backbone to today's world communication system. So we're going to have to come up with some checks, and I believe we must adequately address these broader challenges in coming months and years. Earlier this year, relatedly, the FCC put forward rules to streamline submarine cable application reviews, protect submarine cables against national security risks, and incentivize cable build-out. In those rules, one requirement was for applicants and licensees to create cybersecurity and physical security risk management plans. Can you identify maybe other areas that should be a focus for strengthening our resiliency of subsea cable infrastructure, especially as our adversaries continue to advance tactics to do harm?
Well, Senator Young, it's a great and important question. I think the most effective way that we can prevent our adversaries from cutting cables and the like is to create more cables, to have diversity of them, have them owned by American companies, have more ships to be able to fix them, and frankly, make clear to our adversaries that if they cut our cables, we will treat it as an attack on our critical infrastructure, because that's exactly what it is. Today, adversaries largely get away with it because it's an accident, it was a mistake, we didn't know it was you, but we've watched the Russians surveil our cables. We've watched them, look at them and consider cutting. We've seen the Chinese actually do it in Taiwan and in the Baltics. One might be an accident, certainly 3 in a row is a pattern. And so when our adversaries realize that we are actually watching them and are going to do something about it, that's when they'll stop doing it. And when we build enough cables and enough access that we can rely on our own systems, and then there are other things you can do. You can do physical security. You can put them in more robust casings and the like. You can have surveillance measures down on this undersea floor. But at the end of the day, if you're really going to push back against a nation-state action, it's going to have to be nation-state response.
And we're going to have to come up with protocols, it sounds like you're saying, or expectations that we will treat this almost in domestic law like a strict liability situation, or if not strict liability, the burden of proof or production will be on whomever supposedly accidentally cut a cable, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay. Mr. Meyer, same question to you. Are there other areas that should be a focus for strengthening our resiliency as it relates to subsea cables?
Yeah, I think so. We have to make sure, and we're doing this. We're an important stakeholder in the submarine cable. The transmissions are often transmissions that we are generating and moving along on both nationally and internationally, especially internationally. So we are aware of what the FCC is doing. We've had conversations with the FCC National Security Council about cybersecurity practices related to protecting, well, all practices. It's not just, it's physical as well, to how we can support enhancing, making these systems less vulnerable. But there is an inherent risk when there's so many. I think there are like almost 500 to 700 submarine cables. Many of these are in the Indo-Pacific region. This is China's area. The ability for them to disrupt transoceanic communications at a time when suits their needs is real and serious. And to Mr. Jaffer's point, this really requires federal engagement and activities. And we are willing and ready to collaborate with any government partner and organizations to make sure that these systems are more secure.
Well, who should bear the cost of, let's say, redundancy, right? Building out more cables. These are expensive capital investments. Would it be rational from an economic standpoint for us to say, okay, we have an idea who the greatest users of these cables are because they send data across them, across the ocean. Maybe we should put it on the companies. What would you say to that line of economic argument?
Well, I think the economic argument would be you can't impose costs that are going to make the business unprofitable and not attract investors. As you point out, you need big investment, huge investment to deploy, to maintain, to install these. The economic problem with dealing with asymmetrical issues like this is serious. And I think that this is a question for national policy in terms of what kind of assistance can we do to safeguard our infrastructure against what we're experiencing today and what we know is possible tomorrow.
Well, I think coming up with a doctrine of deterrence, just to be candid, will be as a matter of politics, internal congressional politics, and with the broader public of telecom consumers. That will be an easier sell. So maybe we should focus in the near term on what is achievable, and it seems to me a deterrence approach is eminently achievable. So thank you all, Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Young. As I put out a last call for any members who are trying to get to this hearing to ask questions,